Dear friends, subscribe to my channel Viral Story Hub for amazing and viral stories that will keep you hooked. Join our community and never miss an update. Subscribe now!
Yet behind this perfect life, one truth remained hidden, something no amount of money or power could ever truly fix. The billionaire's father lived quietly in one corner of the mansion, a man lost in his own world due to autism. He rarely spoke, avoided eye contact, and reacted differently, making it hard for anyone to care for him properly. Many helpers had come and gone, unable to understand his behavior, leaving the billionaire frustrated and helpless. Determined to find the right person, he contacted a professional agency that provided trained caregivers. Soon, many candidates arrived at the mansion, each hoping for the high-paying job in this luxurious environment. But none of them knew this job was not about money. It was about patience, empathy, and understanding a silent soul. The billionaire struggled to trust anyone. His past experiences had built a wall so strong that no stranger could easily cross it. Even after interviews, doubt filled his mind, and none of the candidates seemed capable of handling his father's condition. Frustrated and restless, he picked up his phone again and called the agency, demanding someone truly different this time. The company listened carefully and decided to send someone they believed had patience, intelligence, and emotional strength. Soon, a calm and confident maid arrived, her presence simple, but her eyes carried a quiet understanding of people. She spoke less, observed more, and within moments, she understood the silent needs of the billionaire's autistic father. Instead of forcing conversation, she adjusted her actions, earning trust through comfort rather than words or pressure. She fed him with her own hands gently, matching his pace, never rushing, making him feel safe in her presence. She took him outside to the park, letting him feel fresh air, guiding him calmly as if she had known him for years. Watching from a distance, the billionaire felt something new, relief, as if someone finally understood his father without judgment. One quiet afternoon, she carefully began trimming the father's hair, her hands steady, her movements filled with patience and care. She didn't rush the process, instead watching his reactions closely, adjusting every movement to keep him calm and relaxed. The father, who once resisted everyone, now sat peacefully, trusting her presence without fear or discomfort. She gently spoke to him in a soft tone, not expecting answers, but offering comfort through her calm voice. After finishing, she smiled slightly, ensuring he felt comfortable, treating him with dignity instead of pity. She spent hours sitting beside him, not forcing interaction, but simply being there, creating a silent bond of trust. Day by day, their connection grew stronger, built on small gestures that no one else had ever understood before. One day, the billionaire happened to witness this moment from a distance, his steps slowing as he observed silently. He watched her dedication, the patience in her eyes, and something inside him began to shift unexpectedly. From that day on, he quietly started observing them more often, hiding his emotions, yet deeply moved by what he saw. One day, the billionaire decided to take both of them out for shopping, unsure why, but something inside him pushed him to try. The mall was bright and crowded, yet the maid stayed close to his father, guiding him gently through every step with patience. She noticed every small discomfort, adjusting her pace, holding his hand calmly so he wouldn't feel lost in the noisy place. Instead of focusing on expensive things, she focused on his comfort, choosing simple items that made him feel relaxed and safe. The father, who once avoided people, slowly began responding, his eyes softer, his body language showing rare signs of ease. The billionaire walked behind them silently, watching how naturally she handled situations that once felt impossible to him. For the first time in years, he didn't feel pressure or frustration, but a strange sense of peace growing inside his chest. He realized it wasn't money solving his problems, but the presence of someone who truly understood his father's needs. The maid never tried to impress him, yet her actions spoke louder than any words ever could in that moment. As they returned home, the billionaire felt something he had forgotten long ago, a quiet relief, as if his burden was finally lighter. That night, the billionaire couldn't sleep, replaying every moment he had seen, questioning why this simple maid changed everything. He sat alone in his dark office, realizing he had spent years chasing success, but failed to understand his own father's needs. From the security cameras, he began watching them more often, noticing small details that once seemed unimportant to him. He saw how gently she adjusted his father's blanket, how she waited patiently for him to finish even the smallest tasks. Every action carried respect, not duty, making the billionaire feel a deep sense of guilt building inside his heart. For the first time, he wondered if he had been the one failing his father, despite having all the resources in the world. The next morning, he observed them again, standing quietly behind a wall, careful not to interrupt their peaceful routine. His father smiled faintly, a rare expression he hadn't seen in years, and it hit him harder than anything before. That small smile carried a weight of truth, showing him what genuine care could achieve without force or pressure. In that moment, the billionaire felt something break inside him, not weakness, but the beginning of understanding and change. The next evening, curiosity turned into obsession as the billionaire quietly followed their routine, trying to understand what made this bond so real. He noticed how she never forced instructions, instead adapting herself completely to his father's rhythm, respecting his silent world. One moment shocked him deeply. His father reached out first, holding her hand gently, something he had never done before. That simple gesture carried years of distance, and seeing it now made the billionaire realize how disconnected he had truly been. He felt a wave of guilt crash inside him, remembering how often he avoided sitting beside his father due to frustration. Hidden behind a wall, he watched as she patiently encouraged small actions, celebrating even the tiniest response with warmth. For her, these were not duties, but meaningful moments, while for him, they became painful reminders of his own absence. Late that night, he opened old memories, realizing his father was not always like this, but life had slowly changed everything. Tears formed quietly, not from weakness, but from regret, as he understood that money had never replaced emotional presence. In that silence, he made a decision that would change everything, not just for his father, but for himself as well. The following morning, the billionaire did something unexpected. He sat beside his father quietly, unsure how to begin, but determined not to walk away again. His movements were hesitant, almost unfamiliar, as if he was meeting his own father for the first time after years of emotional distance and silence. The maid noticed this change, but said nothing, stepping back gently, allowing space for a connection that had been missing for far too long. For a moment, there was only silence between them, but this time, it wasn't empty. It carried an effort, a fragile attempt to rebuild something broken. The father looked at him briefly, his reaction subtle, yet meaningful enough to make the billionaire's heart race with unexpected emotion. Instead of giving instructions, the billionaire tried to follow the same patience he had observed, lowering himself into his father's quiet world. Minutes felt like hours, but he didn't rush away, holding on to that moment as if it was his only chance to fix years of neglect. The maid watched from a distance, her eyes calm, knowing this was not her success, but the beginning of a family finally healing. For the first time, the billionaire didn't feel powerful. He felt human, vulnerable, and deeply connected to something he had ignored for too long. And in that fragile moment, he realized true strength was not control or wealth, but the courage to stay, understand, and never turn away again. Days began to change inside the mansion, not in luxury or routine, but in emotions that slowly filled spaces once empty and silent. The billionaire now spent more time with his father, learning small habits, understanding gestures that once confused him deeply. He stopped giving orders and started giving time, realizing that presence was more valuable than anything money could provide. The maid continued her role quietly, never seeking credit, yet her impact echoed in every positive change within the home. One evening, something unexpected happened. The father gently rested his head on the billionaire's shoulder without hesitation. That single moment shattered years of emotional distance, leaving the billionaire frozen as tears slowly filled his eyes. He didn't move away, didn't speak, just stayed still, holding on to that rare connection he once thought was impossible. From a distance, the maid watched silently, a soft expression on her face, knowing this was the moment everything changed. The mansion no longer felt empty despite its size. It finally carried warmth, a feeling that had been missing for years. And deep inside, the billionaire understood this was not the end of pain, but the beginning of true healing and connection. Time passed, but the biggest change was not in routines. It was in the billionaire's heart, which finally learned what true responsibility meant. He no longer saw his father as a burden to manage, but as a person who needed love, patience, and silent understanding. The maid remained consistent, her actions unchanged, proving that real care does not seek recognition, only meaningful impact. One evening, the billionaire approached her, his voice softer than ever, carrying gratitude he had never expressed before. He admitted that despite all his wealth, he had failed in the simplest role of being present for his own father. The maid listened quietly, her calm expression reflecting wisdom, as if she understood emotions beyond spoken words. She simply replied that sometimes people don't need solutions. They just need someone who chooses not to leave. Those words stayed with him, echoing deeply, reshaping his understanding of family, responsibility, and true connection. From that day forward, he didn't just rely on her. He became part of his father's world, step by step, moment by moment. The story ends here, but the mystery lives on. Like, subscribe, and return for the next unforgettable journey.